Welcome to this episode of It Has a Certain Sound, episode 5. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about television shows. Alright, so the first thing I want to say about this record is that this is the guy that did the voice of Chef on South Park. Have you heard any of his music? If you're here, I'm assuming you have. It's awesome. Better than Barry White, I think. You know, that's just my opinion. But yeah, it's Chef. It's Chef singing Hot Buttered Soul. What? That's enough of a reason to listen to it. This is a super good record. Yeah, it's like it's Hot Buttered Soul. Like, that's exactly what it is. It's like funky, kind of like gospel-y. The arrangements on it are super insane, really good. And like the whole thing feels it's not like anything super fast on the record. The heaviest song, Hyperbolic, is like it's just like it just goes like it's just it just like feels sludgy. It's like it's funky. The first thing I think I kind of wanted to talk about was the orchestration on the record is really good. The record was it's under Stax, and the rhythm section on it is the bar keys, and it's really good. The way that they did it is just super dramatic, and there's a lot of contrast between the rhythm section being funky the way that it is and the fuzz wah guitar that's on there. It's an interesting combination because I don't think that there was a lot of like really fuzzed out stuff on those kind of like old like soul and funk records. I don't think that there's really ever that much funk that much fuzz. It's usually just like clean with a wah guitar, but this is like really heavy on the fuzz, especially on Hyperbolic is a song that I'm thinking about while I'm saying this. But you have that guitar, that like really heavy sounding guitar, and this insane orchestration, that the orchestration is going, it's going up and down, and you can really like feel it, and there's just a contrast between the two. And there's a lot of the times what they'll do is they'll have one of them in and the other one's out. So if there's like some orchestration on it, it's usually won't have the fuzz guitar. So it's interesting, I think, how they did that, and then it gives them like another way to kind of like build even more, like at the end of a song, because a lot of these songs also they end in like these jams, and those are really cool to listen to also. I mean, it's like a lot of it is that you hear the rhythm section, I mean, just like grooving really hard with what they're doing, and then you have like Isaac and maybe some other people. I think there's some like guitar solo stuff, but a lot of the times it's more of just like a riff. He's just kind of playing the thing, and it's just rhythmic differences, which are super good. I actually learned about this record from this guy JD Simo, who is this really good guitar player, and he plays like blues. I really like the more like funky stuff that he played, and the more he kind of did like a rock thing on this record, Let Love Show the Way, that wasn't like it wasn't rock like I thought about it. I thought it was really unique and really interesting, and I really liked that phase that he did, and I really liked he had one, I think it was just called Simo, but it's when he did like the solo thing, and his bass player had left, I guess, and so he kind of put it under his name, and it was him and his drummer, Adam Abrashoff, who's really good. They're really good together. But the soul stuff I liked. It was like it was by him, and I think it was just called Simo. It had like a picture of his guitar. It was all red. That one was really good. Yeah, he has some cool stuff. He has some really cool stuff that I like, and I heard him talking about this like on a podcast he was on or something. I think it was something that he was doing. I heard him talk about this record, and he said that, and he also he does a cover of Hyperbolic, and it's a really good cover. It's super cool. I like it a lot, and that's how I learned about this song, because my buddy Josh told me, oh yeah, this is off of this record, or I heard JD say it or something like that. but he put me onto this record, and then I heard it, and I was like, oh man, this is like one of the best records. And like I said before, like I really like South Park. I think it's a super funny show. I think it's really really good, and I used to watch it all the time, and like the earlier ones especially. And yeah, like I always saw Chef, and I always heard his voice, and I heard him like he sings on a bunch of episodes, and so I always like I knew who he was just from knowing the show, but I never checked out any of his music. And so when I found Simo saying that, like I really like Simo as a guitar player. I think he's really really good, and the live stuff that he did in like 2016 2017 is really 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 cool. It's like super jammy. I feel like he was listening to a lot of jazz at that time, and I feel like it comes through a lot. Like I know he was listening to like On the Corner and stuff like that during that time, I'm pretty sure. And um and so like a lot of that comes through on what he's playing live, what they're playing live as the as that like original Let Love Show the Way lineup. And um and so yeah, that stuff is really cool. But I really like Simon, so he was talking about this record, and I was like, oh man, I should definitely check this out. And I ended up really liking it from beginning to end, and I've heard other Isaac Hayes records, and I feel like this one is really unique. Like this one to me stands out the most. Like even the Shaft record I think is cool. I've heard it, and I liked it. But this to me just feels like its own unique thing. It feels very like, I don't know. Like I guess it feels very Isaac Hayes, or at least what I consider like Isaac Hayes. Just the stuff that I like from Isaac Hayes, I guess. I'm gonna get some water. Oh, all right. We be back on the mic, boy. We be back. So yeah, I was excited about that, and then so I'd heard about that record that way, and then I came here to Found Sound Records, and I bought the record for $13. Not a sponsorship. So so I was really happy to hear this record, and especially to like it so much. And there's flutes and muted trumpets, organs and strings, and there's these backup singers that are like, it's really weird to me. I didn't really know like where I was hearing this from, or like I couldn't exactly pinpoint it, but I felt like the backup singers had like a very like 50s feel to them. Like the backup singers, when they come in, it almost makes the song feel like just feel old. Like it doesn't feel like a kind of like the sharpness of it. It almost feels like it's an instrument and not a voice. But it's like the way it comes through. It's like it comes through. I don't know. It's just it's almost, maybe it's because it's the harmonies are like really perfect. Like they all sound like one thing together, and it just, I don't know. It gives it a certain sound. It's really really cool. I really like the harmonies on this record. They give it like its own unique feel too. They're really good. And like I said before, there's a lot of jamming on this record. It's like maybe a 3 or 4 minute song, and then there's this kind of like long monologue that they go into at the end, which I really like. I enjoy it, and I also think that like none of it's offensive. Like some stuff like this, I think is easier to listen to than like a rock band jamming. Like if you heard Cream jamming, it's 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 not it's not as offensive as that. Like just with the sounds, like this is really nice to listen to. So it's actually really nice to just let the record play out. And I think too that this is one of those records where it's like you could just play it and leave it going in the back, and you could just go about your business and do your thing, and it just kind of acts like background noise for you, and it adds like a certain vibe to just whatever it is that you're doing. Or you could sit there and like really really listen to it, and there's a lot to listen to as well, and that's really fun about it too. That's one of the reasons why I love this record so much. It's like it's something that I was able to just put on, and then just sit there and just kind of like you could just tune in and out of it, and it's really comfortable to do that. And just because it just feels so, it feels really good. It feels like it's just in a certain vein where it feels in a way where you could just kind of sit there and breathe with it. So it's cool. It's one of those records, which I think that like a lot of black music and a lot of Hispanic music does that. Like there's rhythms and there's feels, and there's just a certain sound that it has where it's just comfortable to walk around in, and I think that's especially apparent with like Latin music right now. Like Latin music is popular everywhere. I think, I mean, at least in America, Latin music is really, really popular now, and people will listen to it, and I mean, all over the states, and sometimes they don't. I think a lot of the times they don't even understand it, but they still listen to it because you can just kind of like be in it, and it's enjoyable in that sense. Hyperbolic is super, super, super dope track, man. That track is so good. It's like the funkiest, sludgiest thing you ever heard, like ever in your whole life. Not even kidding. The bass line, it grabs you and then it goes, and then it just drops you. You feel the bass line go, and then just drop. It's so good. And then the wah guitar on it is super, super insane. I think that I don't know, this is a really unique record. Like the way that they use the fuzzed out wah is really cool. I don't think that I hear it a lot on stuff like this, and it definitely has its own thing going on. And it's really interesting. It makes it loud. It makes it almost like, it makes it feel more rocky, but it's like that it's soul. It's like it's the hot buttered part. That's the hot part. The wah, fuzzed out wah guitar is the hot knife that's just cutting through the butter. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. It's the hot knife cutting through the butter, and it's going, and you're like, oh, this is good. I'm just cutting right through the butter. The butter's just melting right through it. That's what it is. There's nothing wrong with it. It's super fire. And then on that song too, like the lyrics they're super cool. Like he picked just some insane word to hyperbolic syllabic sesquidalemistic. I think that's what it is. I don't know. But he picked a super difficult word to have this entire song around, and the wordplay on it is super, super fire. It's just really it's really interesting. Like he uses a lot of really interesting words, and he goes and he explains these things in a certain way. And then the whole time he's talking about, oh man, my doctor's telling me, I gotta stop trying to get down with this lady. He says it's killing me, but I gotta have it. I gotta go get more. And it's so slick. Like it's so I don't know, man. It's him it's Isaac Hayes with sunglasses on. Like super fire. And then the song One Woman is, I think that's the shortest song on the record. And because there's not like a lot of jamming. I think maybe there's a little bit of jamming at the end, because I think there kind of has to be some jamming on every song in this record. Just because when you hear it, you'll understand. It just feels too good to stop. But One Woman is shorter, and that song he's talking about like he's with his lady, and he loves his lady, and he cares about his lady, but at the same time he's got another woman, and that woman is like super fine apparently, and so he wants to be with both of them, and now he's cheating, and like the whole time you're hearing and you're like, yo, that's messed up. The way that he explains it at the end, I'm kind of like, dang, I don't know which one he should go with. The way, even like with his wife, I'm like, oh man, I don't know, maybe you should leave your wife. It's funny, like he kind of left me confused with it, like the way that he's confused with it. He's like, oh man, I don't know which way to go, and I'm kind of like, man, I don't know which way to go either. They both sound, it sounds pretty cool on both ends, I guess. But I thought it was really funny that the song kind of, it feels that way too, It's like really, really good at capturing what it's saying. And they're just like, they're stories. All the songs are stories too, which is really, really cool. It's not just like he's singing a chorus and then there's some stuff in between it. It's like, it's all stories that are building up, It's really, really interesting. That's interesting. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like folk music to a certain extent, Like the way that I see folk music is like this kind of like air that it sits on, this thing that's just kind of like almost like trance-like. In a lot of ways it's repetition and patterns that repeat that make it feel very trance-like, but this does that too in a big way. It's like the music sits in the back like just air, and then he's telling a story on top of it. And because yeah, like all of them are stories. They're really really cool. They're really interesting. And then One Woman, it has a lot of orchestration on it, which sounds super super cool. It makes it so dramatic. You're like, whoa whoa, and it's like building up, building up, building up. He doesn't know which way to go. Boom, one woman's breaking my heart,
while the other woman is making me do wrong. Oh.
Sing it, Isaac, sing it!
and then the last song on the record, it's like, yo, that's the best song on the record because he builds it up so much. Like, he starts off like the rhythm section is just there, putting you in a trance. Boom, 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 and you're just sitting there, and that's going on, and he's talking about the guy who wrote the song, and he's talking about interpretations, and then he goes and he gives, like, I think it's like a 5-minute monologue of basically the way that this song makes him feel. And he tells this whole story about this guy who was with this chick, and she was using him and abusing him, and he was working
double time, overtime, triple time.
Crazy stuff. And so he's working all these jobs trying to make money for her to make her happy, and then she's still not satisfied, and then she goes and cheats on him 7 times, and then he keeps going back to her, and then finally he ends up leaving. And then at the end of the monologue is when he's leaving, he's told the whole story, and then the song starts, and he's like, this is what was going on in his mind.
By the time I get to Phoenix,
and you're like, oh, yo, it just hits, and then the drums come in. Gah, boom, gah, gah. It's just, it's so good, because the whole time the rhythm section is just like just holding it down, and then boom, it all snaps right into place, and then the orchestration on it is super super good. It just, and it's just like, yo, it soars, it goes, it takes you to new places. You're like, oh man, this is fire. It's really really good. And yeah, like, that song is just, it's so dramatic, it's such a story. I like listening to, like, I think Hyperbolic is the coolest song on the record. Me personally, that's what I like, that one a lot. But this song is just an experience. Like, it's just an experience on record, and you get to hear it, and it's like a movie. It's more than just music. It's really 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 cool. And like I said, like, this is the longest song on the record. It's long, and then they jam at the end, but it's just so interesting to listen to. And, like, I don't know, for me, especially with the rhythm section, like I said before, it really really, like, it just sucks you in, and you're just kind of like sitting there in a trance, and you're just listening to what he's saying, and he's just has this whole story, like, just laying out in front of you. And, like, before the song even starts, you feel really really bad for this person, and then this super dramatic song comes on, and you're just like, oh, the pain, you just want to cry. You're like, man, you feel sorry for the guy. And then at the end of the song, it's like, it kind of, like, the instrumentation changes, and it becomes, like, more major sounding, and it sounds happier, it sounds like triumphant, and he like he's talking about, like in a way, like, he's proud of himself for leaving, you know, like, he's happy that he did that for himself, and like, it's just so intense. The music comes out so triumphantly, boom, and it just hits you right in the face. It's really really good.
oh mama, can you change?
And also, like, Isaac Hayes' singing on that track, by the time I get to Phoenix, is my favorite singing on the whole record. I think it's so dramatic, and you can really feel him pulling around with what he's doing. You know, it's like he's connecting these things, and you're seeing it, like you can just feel it. It's just going, like, in like these patterns, and he's jumping back and forth between everything that's going on. And it's really really intense. It's like a whole artistic experience on that record, and like the orchestration is really cool because it does the same thing, you know. It's like you feel it going like up and down, and it's incredible. And then, you know, like at the end of that, like at the end of when they're going into the jam on By the Time I Get to Phoenix, it's like you feel like you're just like you're standing out in a meadow in like a field, and the grass is tall, and there's like high flowers in it, and you're seeing the wind go across, and it's going shh, and you're seeing Isaac Hayes standing in the middle. He's like singing.
I really hate to go.
You're like watching him sing this song. He's like, ah. You're like, holy shit, what's going on over there? You're like, oh, that looks intense. So you just sit there and you keep watching. You're like, oh, that dude's going through something. This is the record, Hot Buttered Soul, that Isaac Hayes joint. All right, guys, again, this is the record, Hot Buttered Soul, with the light on the freshly shaven head, Isaac Hayes. With the glasses and the gold chain, baby. Come on. Come on. How could he not have two women? Look at that. Fresh. That cover is very cool. Hot Buttered Soul, that's my take on it. Take it or leave it. Remember to like. To like, comment, and subscribe. And we will catch you in the next video. Stay safe, folks. Stay safe. Damn, James Brown is out of battery, man. Ruined the whole thing. Shit, now I gotta start over.